Hi, I'm Dave, and thanks for joining us again for another edition of the Fish MT ice fishing series out here on the ice today in central Montana. Our target out here today is Kokanee salmon, and of course before we ever set foot on the ice, safety is always a consideration. We've checked the ice inshore, we've checked the ice out here. We have almost a foot of good clear ice, so we know we're safe and we're ready to try and get down to business and catch a few salmon. Okay, when we target salmon, the tackle and the techniques are a little bit different than some of the other fish, and it starts with the simple basic rig that we use. We're going to have a weight attached to our simple old ice fishing rod. Any rod pretty much will work for this, but a weight attached to there, and then dropped off that weight I have just a small little hook. In this case there's a little jig attached to it, and I've got that baited. Today we're going to start out with some corn. So you could use maggots, you can use corn and maggots, you can use some artificial lures. Corn has been the best producer out here lately though, so that's what we'll start with today. So in order to be effective when we fish for kokanee, we have to know a little bit about them and where they're feeding, where we're going to try and catch them. They're different from some of the other fish in the winter, like a perch that's going to be sitting right on the bottom. The salmon can be anywhere from the bottom of the lake all the way up through the water column to just a foot or so below the ice. So we really have to experiment a little bit more. And they're also going to be cruising through. Usually they travel in schools. It's a bunch of salmon coming through. They're feeding on plankton, little things or little insects suspended in the water. They're going to pass through kind of in a hurry, and you sort of get one crack at them, and usually then they're gone. So since we're fishing for what we call suspended fish, they're somewhere down there in the water column, electronics can be a handy thing to have. And this is a unit that's called a flasher unit. It's a sonar, sends a signal down the hole and bounces back and tells you both the depth. We see we're at 18 feet. It shows us the bottom. In this case, it actually shows my bait right there, my lure and my bait. And it would show, if fish would show up, they would show up as some colored lines in here as well. So if I would see fish, I can reel up and put my bait right in front of them, hold it there, try and get their attention, try and get them to bite. If they show up farther down, it's easy and fast to just drop the bait down to whatever depth the fish are at, and you can sort of chase the fish as they come through at different depths out here today. So when we know we're at the right depth, or we think the depth where the fish might be, and you can, if you don't have the electronics, you can drop to the bottom and just kind of fish your way up. Fish for a minute or two, reel a few turns of line, fish at that depth, reel a few more turns of line, kind of bring your bait up through the water column. But it's the same technique. It's move it a little bit, enough to get the fish's attention, draw them over your way. Hopefully they'll bite, and they'll usually do that when the line is still. When you see a bite, it's really important, you can't overemphasize it enough, to set the hook, jerk the rod hard and fast, get the hook into the fish. Then you can reel up your fish, and hopefully you have a shot at catching a few salmon out here on the ice today. Okay, thanks for coming out with us today on the ice. For more information on how and where to fish where you live in Montana, check out FWP's webpage. And we hope this gives you a little bit of an incentive to get outside, enjoy the nice winter weather, and fish MT.